Hello and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat, for which will unfortunately be, boys, our last review of this season. After it was heartbreaking loss to Collingwood, scoring 10-14-74, same as the week before, to Pies 11-09-75. 1 point. How'd you feel when the siren went east? How do you feel now, mate?
Yeah, well, I thought the Demons game was going to be the heartbreaker, and we finally get over the line this week. But they did it again, and wow, against the old enemy and the best rivalry in the AFL, in my opinion. We hate each other, and losing to them with a minute 40 to go, we've been in the eighth until the last minute 40 of the season. Just heartbreaking. If you don't laugh, you cry. Really, it's definitely not a good situation. And me personally, it's just a fail. Really, it's just a fail. And considering the position we're in, obviously, if someone said, if we're 12-10 at the end of the year, I would have gone, yeah, I would have taken it. But when you're 8-2, 10-4, fuck me, and you end up 12-10, it's a heartbreaker, and we're going to be living it with it for 6 months and all the memes that come with it.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, it's sort of depending on its perspective, in the sense of where you ask. Like, if you ask pre-season, you take it. If you ask when you haven't dropped a game in the first half a dozen, whatever, you laugh and think there's no way that can happen. But Pato, what happened, mate? How you feeling?
Yeah, you summed up very perfectly there, Daff. I know that after the siren, it was just numb. I sat in my seat for about 25-30 minutes after the game because I couldn't. I don't know what to feel. I know that's by far the most heartbreaking I've ever been watching this club. And we've experienced finals. We've experienced other close games and big game, other close games and quite large games through the season. But there's nothing like that. That feeling was I don't want any supporter to go through that sort of feeling that we went through last night. And I know that there are some people who say, it's just a game, but it's actually not. Like, to us, it's just not. It's not just a game. Like, the whole week, even at work, or like if I went for a coffee with a mate, we were talking about the game on the weekend, and he would be like an Essendon supporter or something, and we would be talking about this game. Like also just seeing like a little kid just crying in front of me on the walk home, just like crying and he was like 4 or 5 years old, like hasn't experienced much at all. And he's just crying to his dad, and then like his dad is like trying to like calm him down, saying it's all right, son. But that just shows how much this club means to so many people. And like, I'm speaking upon myself. Like, I have no idea how many other people it impacts, but that was heartbreaking. I know that I shed a tear once again, but that was just that was something else. Unfortunately, like as Duff said, I just think it was just a fail from where we were during the season on such a high to finish the season like that. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. You said it was a 4 to 5 year old kid. You probably should double check. It could have been me, because I tell you what, I was very emotional after the game. It just couldn't speak. It was almost speechless. So we finished 12-10, ninth on the ladder. Expectation was finals. That was what obviously Sayers said. We fallen just short after being in the eight since the third or fourth quarter of round one. I had us by 38 in the end. Look, after that third quarter, we took our chances in the fourth, I think kicking 0-6. Could be wrong, for about 15 entries, something like that. It could have easily been that. It wasn't that. Do you know what you had, East?
Yeah, I think it was around 5 goals-ish. Like you said, it really could have been, probably should have been, based on the entries and the control we had in the first 10 minutes of the last quarter. The game should have been iced, and we failed again.
Absolutely. Pato, what'd you have, man?
Yeah, I had the Blue Baggers by 24, and also, of course, we was very quickly touch on speech. I know that he unfortunately is working tonight, so I know that he had us by 14 points as well. So obviously our predictions didn't really go the way that we once thought, but it's just really unfortunate.
Yeah, so absolutely, mate. We'll unpack the game, just sort of in each sort of stat. I won't touch on it too much because look, it's a new year next year, and we'll go from there. But look, in the first quarter, I just felt like we played in their hand a little bit. Like, I mean, throughout the match, we're the better team for most of the match. I don't think there's any real dispute in that. But I think the first quarter, I don't know, I felt like we sort of played into their hand. Like, we sort of got more of the ball, but they sort of almost didn't mind that as much because we were very sort of, I don't know, fumbly to start, and we turned it over a little bit, which we didn't actually do too much in the end. But how did you read that first quarter, Reece?
Yeah, we just, like people were saying, us guys were saying at quarter time, we just looked like we didn't have anything to play for in the first quarter. Particularly, like, I know the second quarter as well, we kind of got ourselves a little bit back into it and edged it back, but it just felt like we weren't in the game until the third quarter where we started to fire. But yeah, that first quarter was really alarming. I was worried. I was like, oh no, like, they could really thump us here. Just off, rebound out of their D50. That's where they get most of their goals from all year. And we won enough clearances, won enough the ball, like you said. But when you're missing easy kicks and decision errors and fumbles, and at this late in the year with so much at stake, you can't be starting a game like that. And it actually ended up hurting us in the game in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we'll touch on it later as well a bit, but obviously Walsh going out, right up before that opening bounce, obviously did all they could to get him up. But look, I mean, he makes a huge difference. He's a great player, but each player out there can still pick a football up. Like Doherty, one of the cleanest players we've got. So, and I'm not saying anything bad about him, played very well. But Pato, how'd you read that first quarter, mate?
Yeah, I think that first half was just kind of down to our we weren't really used to that situation. And there were a few players that we probably thought that could adapt a little bit better. That just simply were just overcome by the occasion. Like 88,000 at the G, which is an awesome turnout, probably the biggest crowd since COVID started, I think. Maybe Anzac Day, I don't know how many they got there. But yeah, I just think they were just, you can tell in that first 5-10 minutes, we were just so shit with the footy, and just players who just weren't making the right choices. And you kind of saw that. You can see that a team like Collingwood played in the grand final in 2018 because you can see the difference, because they were the guys that were more composed. You have guys like Penner inside, whatever. Yeah, people were saying that they're washed in their past, but they are so not like that. And like, if like a Maynard, like, he's probably one of the most underrated players in the comp. Like, he's a senior player, and he showed why he was such a good player yesterday. So yeah, I just think it was just the occasion just got on top of us, and I just think whatever Vossi said at halftime obviously helped, but yeah, I just think when it was crunch time and came down to the final moments of the game, that just beat us.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, it would have been the biggest crowd. There was 84,000 at the Anzac Day one. So yeah, biggest crowd it would have been since the 2019 grand final, which is crazy. But look, as you said, overall the better team. But which is, makes it harder to swallow, but it's also, you can take some positives out of there. You're stupid if you don't take positives out of the year at least, and more so probably the last two games as well, especially with, key injuries, not just this game, but throughout the year. We've been challenged, and look, I think we've done okay. We'll get into, obviously, the season review in the next week or so, hopefully with Speechley, but look, your first initial thoughts, East, just in terms of how we've handled the year, mate, and just with injuries, obviously a few setbacks.
Yeah, no, obviously injuries it cost us a fair bit of. It's cost us a few wins. You got to say that, in my opinion. Obviously, there's no excuses to how we've ended the year, but a lot of people have been saying, obviously, for me, it's a fail. You can't be dropping finals, especially to teams like the Dogs, who they're just not as good as us, and talent-wise, aren't as good as us, and they've been us by 0.6%. We put them way earlier in the year, but good on them for making the 8. They didn't choke like we did. But for me, this year has been a joy, actually. I've been to plenty of games this year. It's probably the most I've ever been to in the season, live, and it's just like, it's been a joy, and you've been able to back them in every week to beat their opponent. And we were like, when was the last time we did that? Like, honestly, like last year we were horrendous. Years before we were rebuilding, and then we failed against shit teams, and we just couldn't get anything going. We couldn't get that momentum going. And obviously, the start of the year was a blast. We were enjoying our footy, and 8-2. When was the last time Carlton was 8-2? It would have been in the 90s.
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was a joy, but in the end, it's a bittersweet pill to swallow because you drop games to Adelaide and St Kilda to cost you finals. It's not a good way to end the year.
Yeah, that's it. Well, before we go to you, Pat, obviously there's just so many different ways you can break this down to why we lost the finals. You can go GWS should have beaten the Dogs last week, and then Hawks, they probably shouldn't have necessarily beaten the Dogs. I think Dogs played all right from what I saw, but then we should have beaten Melbourne, should have beaten the Pies. The percentage early in the year, 0.6%, like conceding big losses, like people were saying, just about the 4 points, just about the 4 points. But I mean, yes, it's priority number one, but percentage cost us, in the sense in the end. But in saying that, you've got to be able to beat Adelaide and close out these games like we haven't. But yeah, Pato, sort of a few positives, I guess, from the season, mate.
Yeah, no, I think there was a lot of I guess positives from the season. I think one of them was probably being like a Sydney or a Fremantle. Like they were top. They were kind of finals like experiences, and I'm just so glad because I know that a lot of people would be saying, "Oh yeah, no, that was a complete fail." Yes, of course it was a failure. Going off from where we were during the season, at the start of the season, our expectation were finals. So I think that even hurts even more that of how well we played throughout the year because we deserve it so much more than doggies. That's just my opinion. I think we were by far dominant, like so much more dominant throughout the season, and just those last 4 games, you can't lose 4 in a row and expect to make finals. It's quite simple. So yeah, but I think there were a lot of success. I guess positives throughout the season, but I just think once again, key injuries at key stages as well. Like if we were to lose a Weeders, we would come up against a pretty good forward line the next week, and say if we were to lose a Walsh or a Cripps in the middle, you would look like even a Pit in there through the season. I think that hurt us a lot. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of negatives, but unfortunate that actually happened through the year. But I just think other than that, that's why you have depth in the team. So I think that's something that they need to try and look on over the off season.
Yeah, well said, mate. And I guess from the negatives we take positives as well, in the sense that, as you said, like we know, I guess, what sort of stocks in the sense that we need now. Like probably, we won't say what we need because we'll get to that into the next episode. But yeah, we'll get stuck into the stats, I guess, as a whole now. Look, as we said, more of the ball. 225 to 200 kicks, 3 less handballs, but overall we had more disposals. We had 65 inside 50s to 50, which is just to 44. 65 inside 50s to 44, which converted into 24 scoring shots to 20. So we probably arguably didn't convert inside 50s into scoring shots enough. But then they also weren't the right scoring shots with 10 goals, 14, obviously. I think I've got it written. Yeah, Charles and Harry, 4 goals, 8 between them. Efficiency inside 50 was about 40%, which is pretty low. How did you read the forward line as a whole, Heath?
Frustrating. Obviously, we've had I think since the bye, we've just been a bit hit and miss, our forward line. I'm not naming names. I think just as a whole, we've just found it inconsistent to really put scoreboard pressure on when we need to, especially in games where we're under the pump. Games like obviously Collingwood the first time, Richmond game. There's a few, even Saints. How many chances do we miss that game? Which ultimately cost you finals. Adelaide, there was moments where the forwards are missing shots, easy shots. But yeah, I thought they presented well yesterday. I thought Harry and Charlie were really good in the air, and I think Charlie had 10. Oh no, Harry had 10 marks. Charlie had 9. They weren't struggling to get the ball. I thought they were all over their defenders. I thought their key backs in Moore and Howe weren't dominant as they were last time we did play them. We used the ball better going inside 50, probably, up until probably halfway point of the last quarter when we really needed to. And yeah, 4 goals, 8 is just not good enough, especially in that last quarter where Charlie nails that shot, takes the 30 seconds, kicks a drop punt, which he's pretty good at. I'm not really sure why he's not backing it in at that stage of the game. And ultimately, I knew it would cost us. I was so angry at the time because I knew it's going to bite us in the ass. Because I know when Collingwood's, they've got a sniff of winning, they go for it. You got to get it out of reach. Like last week against the Swans, Collingwood, Swans just really got out to like a 6-goal lead in the last quarter. Game was over. Even if Collingwood threw everything at them, they would not win the game, and we just weren't able to do it. We needed 1 goal in the last quarter to win the game of footy, and we couldn't fucking do it.
Well, we got it in points. So we got, well said. We got 0 goals, 6 from 20 inside 50s just in the final quarter, which I haven't got the Melbourne stats in front of me, but we seem to miss a lot of them late as well, and they took it down there, and they were calm under pressure, I guess. So it cost us again, but we'll get stuck into, I guess, sort of a bit more around the middle and I guess the ruck battle as well. Overall hit-outs, we lost 23 to 43. Obviously having just that one main ruck with TDK playing in the VFL, which we'll get to also later on. I want to get your boys' thoughts just on Pito's game and I guess the pinch hitters in general. So whoever you saw go up in a ruck contest. Ethan?
I was actually pretty happy with Pito. I thought he just played how he kind of was prior to his injury, where he actually got a fair bit of the ball yesterday. He was involved in handball chains, and as you can see with stoppage clearances, that's his forte. Hitting blokes right on the tip for throw-ins and stoppages, and I really enjoyed his game. To be honest, I think Cox, did he have an impact in the game? Did Cameron really have an impact in the game? As they have, obviously they're good players, and respect to them. Yeah, 15 disposals of Pito. He had a few inside 50s as well and clearances, and considering he's a big fella, but it's frustrating, man, because it wasn't even close to one of our worst games, and we still lose in heartbreaking fashion. So I was happy with Pito.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get to some more stats as well. Before we go to you, Pato, just I think he had 1 extra hit out to advantage, which meant having 20 less hit outs to still manage to have more effective hit outs. It's crazy. But we sort of smashed him really in the clearances in the end, a lot of which would have came in the third quarter. Despite no Kennedy, Hewitt or Walsh, as we mentioned, 47 to 33 clearances overall with 11 to 10 centre clearances, 36 to 23 stoppage clearances. So just smashed him around the ground, I guess, in that aspect. Chera with 3, who we'll get to in a second, because I thought he played very well. Cripps 3, Doc 2 centre clearances, and Cripper, who was easily best on ground for mine, with 12 clearances, 6 to Doc, 5 to Pito and setters. Pato, how'd you read Pito's game and just in general?
I thought Pitt was great. I think also credit to Silvani as well. I don't think they really had like a lot of impact, Cameron and Cox. So I think that's just credit to Silvani, I think, because I know that Pittenell was probably always going to be up to the contest to kind of beat Cox or Cameron when they go into the ruck. But seeing Silvani up against Cox, I'm just like nerve-wracking, because you know how tall Cox is, but Silvani just used his strengths in the ruck, and that's just, as soon as that ball went to the ground, he was off. I'm just stoked that we didn't really get absolutely smashed in that sense. Yes, we lost by 20 hit-outs, but that didn't have an impact on the game, really. It's kind of where, because I think when Silvani went up against Cox, I think the midfielders were good to kind of know that Cox was probably going to win that ruck contest, so they were good to kind of know where Cox was going to hit it. It's hard to say, because you can say also that maybe TDK may have helped, but that's just another story. I don't want to look at excuses of how we lost, but seeing TDK in the VFL, he was pretty good as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just in terms of obviously you spoke about the hit outs, but just like clearances, mate, and around the ground. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought Will Setterfield was enormous. Seriously, the guys really stepped up, or just obviously playing the right position where he's supposed to be, in that middle. He's getting a lot of the ball, man. He's getting a lot of the ball for a guy who's played under 7 AFL games this year, around that mark. I think he played early on the wing, but once he's gone in the middle, he's been fantastic. I thought, like you said, Chera really had a statement game, best game for the club. Just that impact going forward of the ball, which he's kind of lacked in the last month. He went on the scoreboard, and in that third quarter, I thought he was the man that got us there as well. Paddy Cripps. If you don't love this guy, there is something wrong with you, because man, watching that was just, you'd paid money to watch him play footy, because Jesus, man, he killed him. He was by far the best player on the ground. What do you have? 35. I think he had 7 clearances in the second quarter or something. He had 1 touch in the first quarter, ended up with 35. So it just shows you how much of a superstar he is, being able to pick himself up in a huge game, which was a final for us. It was a final. And like someone said today, it's a good indicator going forward that we know we've got someone that can step up come finals time, because we know he would be that man, getting 30 plus in a final, kicking the winning goals. And yesterday was elimination final for us, so it was a bit of a teaser, which is not what we wanted, but hopefully come 2023 he's having 40 and knocking out the Pies in the prelim next year.
Yeah, that'll be good, mate. Yeah, I think Chera really lifted. He got two goals, I think, in the end. The first sort of started, I think, in the third quarter, maybe with the first from memory. But yeah, as for Cripps, it was just great to see him rise to the occasion and try and get us over the line. I thought it was a bit, I don't know if I didn't notice too much booing throughout the game, but definitely noticed when they booed when he got the was it best on ground, get a medal or whatever they get. But yeah, I know Bucks doesn't like them booing Pendles, and shame on anyone that boos Pendles, but Cripps was all right apparently. Anyway, 88% CBA to Sam Docherty. We'll touch on him with 29 disposals, 23 of which were kicks, with 786 metres gained, 7 tackles. Fuck me, we spoke about it last week in terms of, should he get more midfield minutes? Is it good to have that option? Daff, what was your opinion on his game, and has your mind changed in terms of more midfield time?
Oh, enormous. That third quarter, and even the second quarter when we were kind of getting back on top. How good is he when he just gets it? He's really inspiring the way he plays his football when he's going. Like 800 metres gain is fucking enormous. Like, it would have been game high, would it? Up there, probably with
It was.
Game high.
Yeah.
I thought he really stepped up again, and I think it's got to work like that next year. I think there might be some sort. Obviously, we'll touch on that in the review and other episodes in the next few months. But he could definitely go on the midfield for a 5-minute spell, or 5 minutes. When a Walsh is off injured or tired, or maybe a part of that rotation with a Zach Williams, who I thought was fucking phenomenal yesterday. But I thought Doc was good.
Yeah, so Doc game high, 786 metres gained, and then it was 3 Collingwood players, all around the 600 to 500. So smacked him really. Pato, same questions to you, mate. Thoughts on Doc's game and more midfield time, perhaps? I asked you the question last week, but just sort of, do you see it the same way still? Or?
Yeah, I'll also just talk about the midfield as well. Just I think Cripper, when he had that knock, I think it was to the ribs, and when he just said to the Doc, "Go away," just when he just said that and pushed him away, that was goosebumps sort of moment. That was like, just because you can tell that how much pain he was in, and just like, oh no, just everyone was like, nah, he's done his ribs, and when you just extend that arm to push him away, that's why he's the captain. That's why he's such a lovable character. And Chera, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Of course, it would have helped having Kennedy or Hewitt in there, but Chera, he's made for finals, man. He's a finals player 100%, and yesterday he showed 88,000 at the G. I think he's definitely one of those players that will really just build from that into pre-season. But Sam Docherty, I think he's a half-backer. I know that I said it last week. I just still think he's a half-backer. I would probably rather him. I know that last week I said that I would rather Zach Williams probably transition into the midfield over Sam Docherty, but I think Sam Docherty is probably that player over Zach Williams because of how good Williams played yesterday off the halfback. Like, he's a freak, isn't he? He just creates stuff, which is awesome to see. But I also mentioned about Will Setterfield, which I think is probably why he's so effective in this midfield, is that he had 24 touches, but 19 of those were kicks. And you don't see that a lot in our team. You see Cripper getting a lot of handballs, Kennedy in there, Hewitt handball, Chera handball, Walshy handball. Says is the guy that wants to use his foot. And of course, the game is football. So if you have a midfield midfielder in there who likes to use his foot skills. I think he probably could be potentially in that best 22 in that midfield. But yeah, I thought everyone was pretty good, and that's just why it's just very it's hard that there weren't a lot of people that there weren't a lot of things that went wrong. Yeah, that's why it hurts even more.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Second for meters gained setters with 525. We all have our players that we really like and defend. Yours is O'Brien, Pato, Daff, Chera probably, or Stock. But yeah, for me, setters, I've said it every week. I think he's too good for VFL. Yeah, I actually rate him quite highly. But yeah, it's good to see him reaping the rewards. Is that the saying? I don't know, something like that. So yeah, moving on, just looking at possessions overall, contested possessions. Absolutely fucking smashed them. I think Cripper had 27, 177 or 123 overall. We, pretty much bullied them in that sense, especially in that third quarter. But yeah, 27 to Cripps and then 12 to Chera. We had less turnovers as well, which is good to see. 67 to 72. They did, however, get slightly more uncontested possessions, but nothing too crazy. 179 to 193. You read all these stats that we've read out throughout this episode, and you sort of do ask the question of how much we actually won by. Because fuck me, you look at it, we should have won, but we didn't. And yeah, anyway, Heath, what do you reckon about just contested, uncontested possessions? How'd you see that, mate?
Yeah, well, like you said, we just beat them at most stats. We've had less turnovers. Probably would have liked a few more uncontested. I think that's kind of how we play. Obviously contested's initial from the source, you're contested, but when you get the ball out and you get more of that space and time, uncontested is where we, put the score on. I think in the third quarter we had a lot of that, especially, Cripper's handball out to Charlie, which is, it's giving me bad PTSD right now. But yeah, handballs out to Charlie, who's, uncontested, out wide. That's when we play our best footy, and they had more of that. So maybe that's, I don't know if that's a big thing, but maybe we were just more under the pump when we had the ball than we really should be. But yeah, it's hard to read it because we still lost the game.
Yeah, absolutely. We sort of, we're very contested in the sense that our average is 145, we got 177, but our average is 235 for uncontested, we got 179. So it's quite below the average, but they were slightly below the average too. But yeah, Pato, how did you read it, mate?
Yeah, you kind of look there, the stats, and a lot of people would be asking, so how much points did the Blue Baggers win by? Because seriously, it kind of looks like that's a type of game that they would win. And that's just why, like I said before, I just don't know where we kind of lost it. And I just think it was personally just down to Collingwood just wanted it more, which really hurts me. But yeah, I just think, other than that, there were just some stages where they just had that extra hand. They just had that extra hand on the smother, in the middle. So Maynard would just put that extra fingernail on it. That would mess up the kick from Cripper or something and just down there, Moore would try his extra, just that extra meter to chase down an Owies. So Owies would mess up the kick. And a lot of the times, just a lot of players were like that. So yeah, I know that this was probably a game that probably wasn't really down to stats. It was just who wanted it more, who would be more composed under the pressure, under the lights of the MCG. But yeah, I just think that's what it was kind of down to. And yeah, hurts me.
Hurts, mate. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. Yeah, look, I want to ask this question, and I'm not sure what your guys' opinion on it was. I know Speechless thought it was they were very lucky, the Pies, week after week. But is it skill? Is it luck to close out these close games? Because we haven't done it 2 weeks in a row. Collingwood done it, for many games in a row. So, Ethan, what's your thoughts on just winning them close games, mate, when it matters?
I think the first few weeks probably they're pulling out their ass, but when it gets to about 9 wins under 5 points, it actually turns into the mentality of their group. because mentality is always more important than talent, in my opinion. Obviously, we've got more talent than them, even though we might be a little biased, but I think we do. Personally, I think that's just realistic. But yeah, like you got to respect them because like going through that every single week and winning every single time. Like, have they lost a close one this year? Probably not.
No.
I think the games they've lost were, hefty losses, maybe a 5-goal, 4-goal loss. But yeah, obviously we have failed to do it once in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, you got to respect them, even though I hate their guts, and revenge will be coming in 2023. But you got to respect them for that.
Moving on to the last, I guess, set of stats, because you can sit here and look and analyse everything. I'll go through these two, then I'll get your boys' final thoughts before we move into the next sort of, I guess, segment. Look, marks are pretty similar, 80 to 82. Although we had less marks overall, we had more marks inside 50, 11 to 9. Contested marks, it was a pretty contested game, I guess, so 15 apiece, which is both above our average and theirs. Lewis Young, I'll get your boys' thoughts on in a second. 15 intercepts, which is pretty good. 64 to 68 tackles, so fairly close there, although it is above our average by 8, so that's, I guess, a good takeaway. Here's the big one here. So we laid 15 tackles inside 50 to their 3. They laid 3 tackles inside their 50, which is damning to look at. Like, they averaged 10, they got 3. We averaged 11, got 15. It's crazy. But what was your thoughts on that, Heath?
Yeah, well, it's just another stat that's just stabbing me in the back, really, isn't it? 15 to 3, and we lose a game of football. I don't think I've seen a stat like that. Those stats are pretty important. In losses we've been obviously on the other side of that, having like 4 or 5 inside 50, ending up losing the game. But when you're 15 to 3 and still lose the game, and more often than not, half of those are probably holding the balls. And talking about umpiring, but we'll move on from that. But yeah, it's just frustrating, man, because I was happy. I was proud of them. Obviously, we're all proud of them this year, but like we've been saying for the majority of this episode, it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Well said. Pato, final thoughts on this? Yeah, them stats, mate, and just the stats overall.
Once again, it's just a stat that's really important and critical to this game. And once again, it's just a stat that we've kind of won and we've actually dominated in, and you just wonder, how did we lose this game? So, yeah, as Duff said, it's just credit to Collingwood. Simply just, it's brutal. It is a brutal game. And yeah, just we tried our best. You know that every single player out there wanted to win. They tried their heart out in that last quarter. Just couldn't convert.
Yeah, well said, mate. Just in terms of heartache, saw Sam Walsh sort of almost in tears, the face sort of in the hands. Post-game up in the box, that was sort of hard to see because that bloke would have done everything he could to have been out there. So it's pretty bad if Sammy Walsh isn't playing. And look, a couple of sad little stats, but I guess as I think Ethan said earlier on, you don't laugh, you cry. So This loss means the Blues become the first VFL or AFL team to have been in finals since pretty much round 1. And then obviously not made the finals at the end of the year. First time since the Blues side of 1977, funnily enough. Also the first V/AFL side to drop out of a final spot with a 1-point loss in the final round. Who did it before us? It was us in 1944. So a couple of sad stats, but interesting nonetheless. All right, we need some positive stuff. We need to end on some positive stuff. All Australian squad just been announced. So we're happy enough to obviously announce we've got 5 inclusions into that, none of which you'd probably be shocked at. Maybe 1, but I'll get your boys' thoughts on that. Look, I'll go run through it. Paddy Cripps, Charlie Curnow, Adam Sard, Sam Walsh. And if I was to be shocked about one, it'd be this one. I'm not saying he played a bad season, and he hasn't made the final team yet, obviously, but Jacob Wiedering. Ethan, what are your thoughts on that, mate? And, so obviously a good positive to take away at the end of the year.
Yeah, it is a positive. It's also another stab in the back of how many good players we have in the side, and we failed to beat the fucking Saints in Adelaide. But on a more positive note, obviously these boys have had a great year. I thought Weeders, like you said, surprised for me to be in there. I'm not like he had a bad year. I thought he was superb until up till his injury. I thought he was absolutely superb at the start of the year. I thought most of us were superb, but he was that kind of key back we needed, and he has been for the last 3 years. We all love Weeders, but yeah, I thought the second half of the year, after his injury, struggled a little bit. Just couldn't really get that form going as we've previously seen. But I know he'll come back bigger and better next year because we know the ultimate professional he is. But yeah, Cripper, Curnow, Sardi, and Walshy all deserve it definitely. Obviously, as it says up here, obviously Curnow and Sardi haven't been All-Australian before, so that's a big step up in their careers. Obviously, Sardi started his career different path than these guys. You know, obviously being a rookie, going to the Suns, and obviously going to the scum of Essendon and coming to the real club in Carlton, and really stepping up his game. And geez, he's been good to watch this year, Adam. And obviously Charlie Curnow was probably the best comeback story this year with Doc.
Yeah, absolutely. Two for, I guess, different reasons. Both out with, circumstances we wish they weren't out with. One more so than the other, obviously. But to see both of them come back in the way they did has been, nothing short of inspirational and fantastic. Pato, thoughts on the All-Australian squad, mate?
Yeah, I think all 5 of them were pretty good this year. I know that I would agree with Wiedering. Very surprised about that. And it probably just shows how good his probably first half of the season before he got injured was. Just because I know that with his form when he came back from his injury wasn't up to scratch. He would be the first one to say that as well. He probably wouldn't accept that. That's just the type of player he is. That's just the type of leader who he is. He is. He has high expectations on himself, and that's on himself, and that's just why he's such a. He's just such a lovable character at this club. But yeah, Sardi probably is the one, and probably Charlie as well. Just awesome seasons. Charlie obviously with the Common, and Sardi just playing off that halfback. If he doesn't get in the All-Australian team, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's actually going on with the selectors, because he's been fantastic. And there's people who were saying that maybe even like a Sinclair, who's been pretty good, but he's probably played a little bit more of a midfield role. Assad's been that halfback, hasn't moved from the halfback flank the whole year. So he's been absolutely fantastic. And I'm just so stoked that he's kind of pulled out the season he's had this year. And also Charlie Curnow, like that comeback story, fantastic to kind of push through and find a way to get back into the best 22 and produce the season that he had, with also winning the comp and the best, arguably the best forward in the comp right now. Just fantastic, and so stoked for him. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. I mean, look, let's give some perspective. This time last year, we just lost to GWS, I think it was, the last round. As sad as this is, as heartbreaking as this is, fuck me, like we've had a good year in the sense of there's a lot of positives to take out of this match before, throughout the whole year. A lot of things that didn't go our way, but we'll build from that, grow from that, and come out better than ever. And look, we gave Dre Russ a bit of shit sort of a week or two ago, but look, Williams has been out, and a lot of that has to go to Zach Williams as well. Preparing himself, but I don't know how long that bloke's been out for, but I thought he was just absolutely fantastic when he got that ball, and he was sort of off half back, whatever, streaming sort of forward. I thought he used it well. I thought he got the ball well, and what were your thoughts, Heath?
Enormous. Him and Sardi, one right foot, one left foot, is enormous for our team, and obviously he went out when we were 7-2, so it shows you the absolute difference he makes. And if I hear one more word of him being shit, just watch football, please, because he showed he was 14 weeks off and comes into a game where you need to win the game of football and played the way he did. Really alleviates the pressure off Sard and other members of the back six. And he was hitting targets. His meters gained would have been very high, I'd imagine. It was just good to see, and he's like, our game is handball received through the middle of the ground. And if you've got him and Sard, you can pick one or the other. depending on how your forwards are set up on each side of the ground or how the game's playing on each wing or whatever. You don't have to just go to Sard every single time and it's predictable. You can go to a Williams who can do exactly the same thing. I'm just proud of him, and I hope he has another good preseason because I think he's had a good season. In the games he's played, I think he's been great compared to last year. He's massive improvement, which has been kind of equivalent to the improvement we've had as a football club this year, which has been a massive turnaround. So, yes, it was great performance from him.
Yeah, I think them two, whether it's Doc rotating through, Galv as well. We're going to have a bloody good year next year, boys. 421 metres game too, by the way, for Zach from 16 disposals, 13 of which were kicks. What were your thoughts on his game, Pato, before we get into best on ground, mate?
Yeah, I thought Zach was great. I think it's another risk that the club kind of had to take, knowing his sort of impact that he has on this team, and especially off the halfback flank. I know that we probably had to play him. I would rather have maybe an 85% Zach Williams out there rather than him not being out there. So I think we had to take that risk, and my word was he 100%. He was fantastic. Very close to best on ground for me, just because of his impact. His creativity off the halfback is just something that we've kind of been missing. I didn't know how much we have missed it since he's been injured, but just his football smarts and IQ has just been like, it shows on the week, or like it shows on Sunday Arvo how good it was, and especially at Giants as well. I think he's always been that smart footballer. Probably doesn't have the best technique with his kicking, but my word, he hits targets, and I just think that he's just fantastic. And I'm so stoked that finally he's starting to get some games together. That probably wasn't looking likely when he first moved to the club and started to get some injuries. Now he's starting to get some games together. Well, he got a really he had a really good game yesterday in front of 88,000 people. Like, that's just one thing that's very underrated. Is a lot of people shy away from that, but he just performs. So yeah, I'm just so stoked, and we saw a lot of players yesterday that stepped up under that pressure. So yeah, I'm stoked for Zach Williams.
Yeah, absolutely. Loves to be creative. He would have played in the grand final, wouldn't he, for GWS?
Yeah.
Yeah, so big crowd there. It didn't go their way, obviously. But we'll get stuck into best on ground. Look, we try and keep them diverse, and I'm going to tell you boys who to go, but I'd be very shocked if we don't all go to the same person. Heath, who have you got, mate?
Yeah, just quick mention before I say this one I've got. Adam Cherr's best game, as I said before, enormous. I think he'll get the 2 votes, in my opinion. I think they were the 2 highest rated players. So I've obviously got Cripper, 35. You can't shy away from that. 27 contested. How many times in a pack did he get tackled by 4 blokes and handball it out? That is why he is so enormous, because, he can drag 3 guys with him and open up lanes for other teammates, which almost won the game and should have won us the game. And out of all blokes who deserve to play fucking finals, he does. Not fucking Bond. Not other fucking dickheads. He does. He's the man. He seriously is the man. And what is he, 27? He'll be 28 probably next year come September, around there. So hopefully he's playing a finals footy game and he's singing the national anthem pre-game.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Pato, best on, mate.
Yeah, Cripper 28 next year. That makes me feel very old. So cheers, Cripper, for that. No, but I think he was fantastic. But you boys know that I always don't like to always follow the same sort of person, and I've gone Adam Cherra. I mean, from the start of the season, I've said that this guy's probably my favourite footballer at the club. I think it's probably just behind a Lockie O'Brien, but I think Cherra's probably taken over just because I love how this guy goes about it. I'll read through his stats: 27 touches, 2 goals, which I thought was fantastic, 15 kicks, 12 handballs, 7 tackles, which is you needed a tackler in there, and he just delivered with that. 6 clearances, which I thought was pretty good. Obviously, half from Cripper. So, and also 77% efficiency. And I thought also just a big time player. 88,000 at the G. He stepped up, and that's by far the best game that we've seen him play in the navy blue. And yeah, I just think that when he kicked those goals, it was kind of when he did kick them, that they were kind of energizing, really. Like when he kicked him, they were just like everyone was up and about. So yeah, I thought he really stepped up. I'm really pleased that he was one of those players that stepped up on the big stage. And once again, I just think these types of players, you kind of see them because, yes, it wasn't an actual final, but it was pretty much an elimination final type feeling. So seeing those guys out there really step up, I'm just proud of them. Really, really proud of them with how they kind of dealt with the game, and obviously with those last 5 minutes, they just it just got ripped away from us. But it's unfortunate. But yeah, I thought Cherry definitely was best on ground for me.
Also, mate, I'm on Crips. Ethan, you read the stats out, mate. So, yeah, everything you mentioned was the reason why I made my best on. Well, that's about it. VFL made finals, of course, which was great to see against, it's got one win over the Scum, and we'll play them again next week. So, that's 3 weeks, playing them 3 times in 2 weeks, whatever. But, yeah, look, if you haven't already supported the VFL throughout the year, look, next week's the best chance to, or this week I should say, the best chance to with the week off. Obviously, the seniors, no football on at all in terms of any club. So the week off, get down to Victoria Park. I think it's a Sunday the 28th, I think it is. I'll look at my phone. But yeah, at 1:05 p.m. If you haven't got down to a game, make sure you get down to this one. Hopefully they don't get spat on by the Scum down there. But look, should be a good game and go down there and support the boys. But look, thank you to everyone for their support, I guess, throughout the year. Of course, this is our last review. Unfortunately, the season didn't end the way we hoped it would. But look, we appreciate everyone that watches and tunes in every week, twice a week. Yeah, support means the world to all of us 3, and sometimes us 4. But yeah, if you're not already, please like, subscribe, tell your friends, and anything else you wanted to add, boys?
Just try and stay positive, because we're going to get there. We're going to fucking get there. Trust me. Picture it and remember that game where all those maggots were yelling at us, giving it to us all over Twitter. We'll remember that. We'll remember that come next year. We won't make that mistake. Aussie will not let us make that mistake. And when Luke Brewster's kicking goals for the Baggers, it'll be good times ahead.
Ooh, that's a good little snippet towards the end there for the next couple of episodes to be released later in the year. Pato, anything else? Final thoughts, mate?
Yeah, that's a very nice tease for trade talk at Dappy Boy. But yeah, I thought that I would just quickly touch on just how great the support has been kind of throughout the year from Baggers Chat. I mean, obviously we're up to 313 subscribers, but I think we've also just we've gone up. Well, we've tried a lot harder this year just to try and get a lot more content out there, which I think's worked out pretty well. So yeah, I mean, I know that it somewhat is a little bit of therapy coming on here, trying to speak about the Mighty Baggers after a loss, but also just the good times. It will actually be good to look at some episodes throughout the year when we were up and about and see how excited we were, because I do miss those times. But obviously, I mean, it wouldn't be a podcast if we didn't ride the highs and the lows. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think it's been a great season and absolute pleasure going on the podcast every week with you boys.
Yeah, well said, mate. Beautifully said. Look, that's it from me. That's it from us, boys. Pato, for one last time in the season of 2022, mate, bring us home.
Oh, well, not yet, because we got the season review coming up soon, boys. But as always, boys, up the Baggers.